Schluessel. Thank you so much for having me. Thank you to Joshua for inviting me and everyone for organizing this. Hi. Yes, I'm Schluessel, Director of the Seeger Center for Asian Studies, which is the largest center for Asian studies and the most active one in the Washington, D.C. area. And at the Seeger Center, we have a very, very special place for Uyghur studies, which I wanted to let everybody know about here today. Now, in fact, the Uyghur Studies Initiative has existed in some form at GW, the George Washington University, since 2014 under the Central Asia program. We have a very active Central Asia program. But in 2022, it shifted over to the Seeger Center for Asian Studies for very good reasons. And now it's expanding and becoming more active, I think, in the place where it needs to be, and with the audiences and communities where it makes the most impact. So what is the Uyghur Studies Initiative? By the way, we've chosen sort of the Yulhun as a symbol of this, of course, because where does the Yulhun survive? It survives in the desert and in difficult terrain and difficult places. And we hope in many ways that the Uyghur Studies Initiative will serve a similar purpose of sort of being a place where Uyghur culture can always thrive outside of the homeland and in anticipation of a better future. Okay, so we have a very comprehensive approach to Asia at the Seeger Center, but our specialties tend to be in things like Chinese politics. Taiwan studies is very big for us. We have a Tibet specialist. We have a long-standing interest in sort of China, Central Asia, and Indo-Pacific affairs, and now Uyghur studies as well. And we share a suite with the Institute for Korean Studies. We're just 2 stops away on the metro on E Street. Come by and say hello. Many of you have before. Why do we have an Uyghur Studies Initiative at GW? Because, well, we have 2 full-time faculty who focus on Uyghur issues. This is pretty rare. I think it might be unique almost in North America, apart from, of course, Indiana University, right? So I'm there, so is Sean Roberts, author of The War and the Uyghurs, and a very prominent scholar who's done really important field work among the Central Asian diaspora, but also because GW is the strongest China affairs program in DC, and historically we've taken a very sort of China critical stance in our scholarship, right? So we tend to be aligned with interests and scholarship that looks critically and carefully at Chinese policy abroad, and also thinks about its impact on ordinary people. In the DC environment, of course, DC and Fairfax County are home to the largest Uyghur diaspora community in North America. And programs and things like Uyghur studies or ethnic studies should be in places where they can serve the community associated with that. We have a strong public sector desire for knowledge about Uyghur issues. And so we have friends in the State Department and the Department of Justice who want to know more about this, but they want to have expertise nearby. But we also have Capitol Hill, and this makes for an interesting dynamic because Uyghur issues always come up in DC, but there's an issue. It's relentlessly focused on policy. You say Uyghur in DC, people say, what's the policy impact? What is the angle on China here? It means that there are a lot of people in DC who are interested in the Uyghur issue. Maybe they're not exactly pro-Uyghur, but they are anti-China. And they want to use the issue for their own various purposes, right? But a university is not supposed to have politics. A university is supposed to be a safe place to have multiple perspectives on an issue, which are not motivated by immediate political interest. So that's one reason why I'm even supporting it at GW, because we think that there's a need for that space. And also, I hear from my friends in the diaspora, especially among the youth, that there's a desire for that kind of support. There's always money for policy discussions, but what about the arts? What about things like Under the Mulberry Tree and other wonderful collections of arts and literature that celebrate the diversity of what it means to be Uyghur and to survive and thrive in the diaspora? That is one thing that we really want to connect with and support, while also broadening DC's knowledge about Uyghur issues with nuance and strong grounding, and also attention to the community's own interests and perspectives, which have to be at the center. So, well, there we go. So it means that there is and there always will be a place for Uyghur studies at GW. Now, why is it that there is and always will be? Because an anonymous donor gave us about $950,000 as a permanent endowment. Now, some people don't know how an endowment works, so I'll just say, what it means is every year we get about 4.5% interest on the endowment, and we use that money to fund Uyghur-related activities. And the endower, who is, I can tell you that this is a former retired scholar who is an ally to the Uyghur community. And they said specifically, this shouldn't go towards policy issues, it must go to humanities, arts, social science research like anthropology, things like this. So we use the interest to pay for the programming. We make $42,000 go a really long way. So for example, the first thing in the endowment is Uyghur language teaching. Now, thanks to Dr. Gülnis Nazarova, who taught me Uyghur Dili many, many years ago, and to Gulnara Aziz, we have some wonderful Uyghur language programs popping up around the country. But we wanted to have one here in DC. And this is working out well. You might know Mustafa Aksu, who teaches for us. He's amazing. And it means that every year we have a number of people, including professionals from DC, taking Uyghur language, right? Now, at the introductory and intermediate levels. This is thanks also to funding from the Department of Education, which ensures that we can offer 2 levels of the language, but the endowment pays for at least 1. We also have been funding research by our graduate students. So last summer we funded 3 grad students to do research and to study Uyghur language. So they're supported, they're encouraged, and it means people who want to work on Uyghur issues will come to DC, they will know the Uyghur community, they will know the issues around it, and will enrich the dialogue here. But we also have events. Muqaddas Majid came here and showed her film Nikah. 120 people showed up to this, and we're extremely proud of that. Because the Q&A afterwards, it wasn't just for the broader policy community. There were Uyghurs in the audience who saw themselves in the film. There were activists from China, like Chinese feminists, who wanted to understand Uyghur life better. We draw a wide cross-section of DC to this event. Similarly, thanks to Professor Rebecca Clothy and Dr. Dilmurat Mahmoud, we were able to hold a book launch for a new volume that mixes the work of Uyghur diaspora scholars and allies in universities. And we've even had a discussion of the politics of Uyghur dance, and all of these get a lot of attendance. About 50 people, about 80 people, because we're here in DC. And we can do this because we have the mission and the means provided by the endowment. So, what can I say? We're doing our best to provide space and to hold space. We're trying to grow as much as we can, but we're always open to new ideas. I'm so happy to see the arts being celebrated here today, and we'd like to do the same over GW, so please get in touch. Okay, if there are any questions.